Welcome to Yonkers Arts Podcast. My name is Anaya.
And my name is Amira.
And today we will be interviewing Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. It's nice to see you too.
Nice to see you too. What is the best part about being a mayor?
What's the best part about being mayor of Yonkers? Imagine this, right? You're born, kind of raised in a community, right? And you are your family lives here, your friends live here, and you're all of a sudden you're given this opportunity that you can affect change in the community that you were born and raised in almost instantaneously, because the mayor is given a tremendous amount of responsibility in terms of making sure that you pick the right person to run the police department, run the fire department, the right trustees so they can run the Board of Education. That's a tremendous amount of responsibility, but it's also a great, just a great chance to make some real changes to the community that you love, for the people that you love as well. So I'm excited about being mayor, and it's fun.
So we did some research and we found out that you grew up in a house of 16 children. So what was life like growing up in a house with that many people?
It was really funny because we in the first part of our lives, when we were just before we moved to a single family house, we lived in a 3-family house, and there were 12 of us, and so we were like 4 or 5 of us to a bedroom, and but I have to tell you that I wouldn't have traded my experience growing up for anything in my life. I love my brothers and sisters. We are very close even today. We're very, very close. We fight, right? Everybody fights with their brothers and sisters. But I have to tell you that they're also 15 of my best friends, and we had a good life growing up, a good family, good parents, and we had challenges. We weren't rich, but you know what? But we were happy. And that's all that mattered, right? That we had each other to depend on, and that we were happy, and we lived in a wonderful city where we had great friends.
So, since you grew up with that many siblings, did you share any special childhood dishes with them?
Dishes. Well, my grandparents are Italian immigrants. My mother side, they're Polish, and so our traditions are pretty simple, right? We always have pasta on Sunday, pasta and meatballs every single Sunday, no matter what. And then, of course, because my mother is Polish, we would have some of our Polish meals as well, especially Easter morning. Easter morning is a morning where we have kibasi and pierogies and what they call kapusta, which is a special made sauerkraut that Polish people like to have, right? And so I've been able to, obviously live in America and enjoy the values and the splendor of being American, but at the same time have some of the taste of the Polish immigrants and the Italian immigrants that I was able to kind of live through the culture and the food through my mother and my dad.
So we found out that you were an assemblyman for 19 years. So that was your career. What made you transition to running for mayor?
That is such a good question. I loved being in the state assembly. I got elected in 1992. I was New York State's youngest member of the legislature at that time. And so it was a very interesting experience because there are 212 legislators in New York State, and I was the youngest one. And it was a time where I could learn. I learned from a lot of really intelligent people who really knew how to govern, and I was, I think, prepared to be able to run for a position like mayor because I was in the state assembly, because we learned things like how to run budgets or create laws, and all the things that you learn in the legislative branch prepares you so that you could seek higher office. And while Yonkers being mayor isn't technically a higher office because I'm in the local government, but it is greater responsibilities because you go from the legislative branch to the executive branch where you actually are responsible for running the government. Um, I loved being in the state legislature. You could collaborate with people and get lots done. But when you're mayor, you can get things done almost instantaneously. And that's why I really aspired to be mayor.
Is there a reason why you transitioned from a Republican to a Democrat?
That's a good question too. You know, my dad was a Republican. You know, my entire family were Republicans. I was a Republican, I think, in large part because I was so young and involved in politics, and I think that I was just it was just a place I was brought into, and I didn't feel that the Republican Party was represented my core beliefs and the interests that I have. And I felt the Democratic Party was much more in line with how I felt and how I govern and the way that I see the world. And you know, love my father, and my father's not with us anymore, but he was a hardcore Republican. He loved being a Republican. He was a little mad at me when I did switch, but I think, but you know what? But he respected me, and he respected my beliefs, and he knew that this was a better place for me to be in.
So, my question was that, so we looked on Google and other websites, and we found out that you're running for a fourth term.
Yes.
So, if and when you're granted a fourth term, what will you do to improve Yonkers?
You know what? What I've done for every day I go to work as Yonkers mayor, as I go to work with a dream to make Yonkers better. My goal has always been to leave our city in a better position than what I inherited. And so what does that really mean? Well, it means that I want our schools to be better. I want our community to be safer. I want our parks to be not just clean, but enhanced and expanded. I want to make sure that businesses come to Yonkers, employ the people that live here, make sure that if they build housing not just for people who want to move here, but for the people who live here, so we can enhance the quality of life for everyone that lives in our community, no matter who they are, no matter where they're from. These are the things that I aspire to do every single day as mayor, and I'll continue to aspire to do that until the day I'm not mayor.
My question is, what is your go-to motto when you feel like stuff aren't going your way?
Ooh, that's such a good question. You know, when things aren't going my way, right, what's my go-to model?
Or is there like a person that keeps you going?
You know, it sometimes. There are times when when you decide to hold a position like mayor, there are probably 3 or 4 times, maybe a year, when you sit back and go, oh boy, why did I get myself involved in this? And there, you know, sometimes they're really challenging budgets. Other times, there are times when, you know, when I get a call and found out that Sergeant Frank Gordino died in a car accident, or when I get a call saying that I need to go to visit someone's home whose baby child died in an accident, or as a result of gun violence, right? These are the very serious times that you have to deal with when you're mayor, because when people depend on you, you have to be there for them. And sometimes people who depend on you aren't just the ones who are going to school. They might just be that person who's just going through a tragic time in their life, and they expect the mayor to be there, to be for people to see that the mayor supports them. And because when I'm speaking about supporting someone, very often people are comforted because they feel it's the city. You know, the mayor is here. So you know what? The people of Yonkers support me in my time of need. I think that as I'm answering your question, I'm realizing what kind of makes me happy when things are tough. What makes me happy when things are tough, when I really have had a rough time, and then there are a number of times it's happened. I mean, it's just the way it is. I find my best approach is to go out and see people. I like people. I like the public. I like Yonkers. I like the people that live in Yonkers. And when I go out and I can go to a deli or a park or a senior center or a school and just talk to people, I feel much better about myself and about my job.
Why are you so passionate about being the mayor of Yonkers?
I don't think you could do this job well if you're not passionate about it, right? I mean, and you're going to find that with anything you do in your life. I mean, clearly you're passionate about school. The two of you can tell you're very good. I don't even have to even ask. You seem like you're two really good students, and that's going to carry through your whole life. You're clearly two individuals that no matter what your challenges or what it is you choose to do with your life as you get older, you're going to be passionate about it, and that's what drives you to success. You have to be passionate about what you do, and I'm passionate about this job every single day. Every single day I get up, I have a smile on my face, and no matter what the end of the day brings, I'm happy in the beginning of the day, and I go to work with a focus, and that focus is to make Yonkers a better place for all of us to live in.
Is there an opportunity that you had a chance to take but you decided not to?
Life is filled with opportunities, and you can make many different turns in your life. There was a time that I ran for mayor, and I lost. Right, so I ran for mayor the first time, and I lost, and I was pretty bummed. I was pretty bummed I didn't win. I worked really hard. I knocked on 7,000 doors. 7,000 doors. That's asking people for a vote. And I lost by, close, a couple hundred votes. But, it's like I said, but it was nice to know that I was able to come back and do it again and run again. But I could have chosen not to. I could have said, you know what, I lost. I want to go through that again. I don't want to lose again. I'll go back to the assembly and have my career there. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I decided to take it on again and risk losing again. But like I said, the risk reward, it's always a lot nicer to win. And when you work hard and you win, there's no greater feeling. So you should always go back to that.
My question is, what is Yonkers' plan for a weather disaster? Because on the news, there's been a lot of tornadoes and tsunamis and floods happening.
That is a really great question too, because remember, Yonkers is a city that's built on two mountain ranges, right? So this city of Yonkers is built on two mountains, and there are seven. Think about the city of sevens, 7 hills, 7 lakes, 7 valleys, right? 7 rivers, right? All in Yonkers. Yonkers is, that place that where the environment and especially the effects of global warming are felt extremely hard, especially in what they call the redlined communities, the communities that pretty much have the black and brown community living in it. And these are challenges for us that we have to take on, and we are. How are we doing it? Well, we're planting more trees in the redlined areas. We're going to do bioswales. In other words, when it rains and rains heavy, we try to keep the rain out of our storm system and have it go into the ground. And how do we do that? Well, a bioswale is a way of doing it. We do a number of things to try and mitigate the effects of global warming. Painting roofs white, right? Because would deflect the heat a little differently. Having greater what they call LEED standards, where that's where we're requiring the people who build buildings to build environmentally conscious buildings, where they use different types of solar panels and stuff like that to help reduce the carbon footprint. We changed all the streetlights in Yonkers 13,000 streetlights in Yonkers. We changed
lot.
every one of them. We got rid of those old, and you're too young to know about those two old orange lights that people used to have. They used to burn a lot of electricity. Now we have nice LEDs. They're bright. They're white lights. They're healthier lights, and they're, believe it or not, they're only about 10% of the original cost, the power of what the other ones were. And so we see our tremendous amount of savings there too.
So, thank you, Mayor Mike Spano, for joining us today in our podcast.
Well, thank you. It was just a great interview. I really appreciate it.
It was
Thank you.
great to have you here.
Thank you.